kind of like in awe because you're told, what to say or what not to say, more importantly, and not look and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, my God, I've actually met the Queen. And it was amazing.
In a shocking twist, Simon Cowell, the famed television personality known for his candid remarks and strong opinions, broke the hearts of many when it was revealed that he was expecting a child with his best friend's wife, Lauren Silverman. Despite his past claims of not wanting a family, Simon proudly announced the birth of his son, Eric, on social media, ignoring the controversy that followed. But just as his life seemed to take a new turn, tragedy struck, and another personal setback shook Simon's world. Stay tuned as we dive into the heartbreak and challenges Simon Cowell's family has faced. The birth of Eric Cowell, a life-changing event. Simon Cowell, the renowned British television personality and music mogul, has long been known for his sharp tongue and no-nonsense approach to his career. His reputation as one of the harshest critics on shows like American Idol and The X Factor made him a household name, with millions tuning in to see his candid remarks and ruthless evaluations. Simon had built a successful career in the entertainment industry, yet there was one thing he had consistently ruled out: fatherhood. For many years, Simon had been vocal about his lack of interest in having children. In fact, he had repeatedly stated that parenthood would interfere with his lifestyle and career ambitions. To him, being a father was something that simply didn't align with his vision for his life. Simon was perfectly content to focus on his work, his high-profile relationships, and his lavish lifestyle. However, life has a way of surprising even the most stubborn of plans. In 2014, Simon found himself facing the unexpected. He was about to become a father. The shocking news: a love triangle and family betrayal. The revelation came as a shock not only to Simon, but to the entire world. Lauren Silverman, the wife of Simon's best friend Andrew Silverman, was pregnant with Simon's child. The news rocked both Simon's personal life and his public image. Lauren and Andrew had been married for several years, and Simon's close friendship with Andrew had been well documented. The betrayal was undeniable, and the situation became one of the most talked about scandals in the entertainment world. Andrew Silverman, understandably hurt by the affair, publicly accused Simon of being a co-respondent in the breakdown of his marriage, a term used in legal proceedings when a third party is involved in an affair. The media frenzy that followed the news of Simon's relationship with Lauren was intense, and the public's reaction ranged from shock to judgment. Despite the public outrage, Simon stood by Lauren and the pregnancy, and he made a decision to embrace fatherhood, something he had never imagined for himself. A new beginning, Eric's birth and Simon's transformation. Despite the controversy, Simon was determined to be there for the birth of his child. On the day that his son Eric was born, Simon made a quick decision to leave a Britain's Got Talent audition and fly across the Atlantic to be by Lauren's side. He was determined to be present for the arrival of his son, and it was a decision that would change his life in ways he never anticipated. When Simon first held Eric in his arms, he was overwhelmed with emotion. The birth of his son was a profound experience for Simon, one that he later described as life-altering. It was the first time in years that Simon had been faced with something so deeply personal and so deeply meaningful. In that moment, Simon was no longer the workaholic, television mogul, or music executive. He was a father. As he gazed at his newborn son, Simon was struck by a rush of memories of his own father, Eric Selig Philip Cowell, who had passed away from a heart attack in 1999. The birth of Eric brought back the deep love and sense of loss that Simon had felt for his late father. Holding his son for the first time rekindled memories of a bond that would never be replaced, yet it also made Simon realize the importance of the new chapter he was beginning with his own child. Eric's arrival wasn't just a moment of sentimental reflection for Simon. It represented a fundamental shift in his perspective on life. Before Eric's birth, Simon's life had been defined by a relentless drive to succeed, a punishing work schedule, and unhealthy habits like smoking. His career had been the center of his universe, and it had been all-consuming. However, Eric's birth forced Simon to reevaluate his priorities and reassess the choices he had made in his personal and professional life. A new purpose. How Eric changed. Simon's life. The birth of Eric was not only an emotional experience, but a wake-up call for Simon. The arrival of his son offered him a renewed sense of purpose and gave him a reason to take a step back from his exhausting work routine. In the months that followed Eric's birth, Simon began to change in ways that those close to him had never expected. Eric's presence in Simon's life gave him something that his career had never provided: a reason to slow down, to find balance, and to reconnect with the simple joys of life. As Simon spent more time with his son, he began to recognize the beauty in moments that were once insignificant to him. Bedtime stories, playing with Eric, and even taking time to watch his son laugh and smile became cherished experiences that filled Simon with a sense of fulfillment. For the first time in years, Simon felt truly alive and present in a way he hadn't in a long time. Simon's transformation wasn't just emotional, it had a profound effect on his personal and mental health. Prior to Eric's birth, Simon had struggled with his own emotional well-being. In fact, he was coping with a deep sense of grief following the death of his mother, Julie Brett, in 2015. Julie had been Simon's rock, the one person who had always supported him and guided him through life. She had been a single mother since Simon's father passed away in 1994, and Simon had always had a close, loving relationship with her. Her death left a massive void in his life, one that Simon tried to fill with work, but that approach proved to be ineffective. The struggle with grief. Simon's darkest days. Simon's grief after losing his mother was all-consuming. In the months following her death, he became a workaholic in an attempt to escape the overwhelming sadness that had engulfed him. Work had always been a refuge for Simon, but after his mother's passing, it became a numbing agent, a way to bury his pain and distract himself from the crushing emptiness he felt. Simon described this period as one of desperate unhappiness. He would work late into the night, often only getting a few hours of sleep before starting the cycle again. It was as though Simon had become a shell of himself, existing only to work and avoid dealing with his grief. During this time, Simon's mental health suffered. He felt isolated, disconnected, and emotionally exhausted. Despite the success he had achieved in his career, he was deeply unhappy, and his work no longer brought him the fulfillment it once did. He was at a crossroads, and he knew something had to change. Eric's healing influence. Finding hope and purpose. Eric's birth, however, became the turning point in Simon's life. As Simon became more involved in his son's life, he began to find the strength to face his grief and start healing. Eric's innocence and joy acted as a balm for Simon's wounded soul. Every time Simon saw his son laugh, smile, or discover something new, he was reminded of the beauty of life. Eric's presence became a constant reminder to Simon to cherish the present moment, to focus on what truly mattered, and to reconnect with the people he loved. Eric didn't just distract Simon from his grief. He became a source of hope, a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and a reminder of the importance of family. Slowly, Simon started to emerge from the dark cloud that had hung over him for so long. He was determined to be the best father he could be for Eric, and this desire drove him to focus on healing and self-care. As he engaged in fatherhood, from diaper changes to bedtime routines, Simon started to feel more grounded and connected to the world around him. Healthier coping mechanisms, a new perspective on life. Eric's influence didn't stop at providing emotional support. His birth inspired Simon to adopt healthier coping mechanisms. He began to prioritize his health for the sake of his son, recognizing that fatherhood required him to be physically and mentally present. Simon made a commitment to himself and to Eric that he would take better care of his body and mind. He sought professional help, made time for self-care, and embraced a more balanced lifestyle. This change wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Simon realized that while grief never fully disappears, it becomes more bearable when balanced with love, purpose, and the responsibilities of fatherhood. Eric helped Simon rediscover joy and meaning in life, and their bond grew stronger as they shared more experiences together. A setback and a new perspective. The near-death experience. Just as Simon was finding his balance, tragedy struck again. In 2020, Simon Cowell suffered a near-death experience that would change his life once more. While riding his electric bike at his home, Simon lost control and suffered a severe fall that broke his back. The injury was so serious that it nearly left him paralyzed, and the recovery process would be long and painful. The accident forced Simon to confront the fragility of life in a way he never had before. It was a wake-up call that further emphasized the importance of family and health. The near-death experience was a sobering reminder of how quickly life can change, and it served as another catalyst for Simon to reassess his priorities. It was a time of physical and emotional recovery, but it also reaffirmed the lessons he had learned from Eric. The importance of love, family, and cherishing each moment. Through the pain of his injury, Simon found the strength to continue moving forward, now more determined than ever to prioritize his health and his role as a father. The near-fatal accident and its aftermath, a turning point in Simon Cowell's life. In August 2020, Simon Cowell's life took a dramatic and heart-wrenching turn when he was involved in a near-fatal accident that nearly left him paralyzed. As the famed British television mogul and music executive, Simon was known for his sharp critique, his immense wealth, and his iconic role in shaping global music acts such as One Direction and The X Factor. But his career-driven lifestyle was abruptly interrupted by an event that would change his life forever. What seemed like just another day spent at home quickly became a nightmare when Simon lost control of his electric bike and fell, breaking his back in several places. The severity of his injuries sent shockwaves through his family, friends, and fans alike. The emotional toll on Simon and his family. The accident not only devastated Simon's physical well-being, but also inflicted a deep emotional wound on his family. His partner, Lauren Silverman, was forced to confront the terrifying possibility that she could lose the man she loved. As a mother to their son, Eric, Lauren's life, too, was thrown into turmoil. The emotional weight of the situation was compounded by the fact that Simon's injuries were so severe that his ability to walk was in jeopardy. The fear of the unknown loomed large as Lauren and their young son, Eric, struggled to come to terms with the new reality. Simon's relationship with Lauren had already been tested by their tumultuous journey together, having emerged from scandal and personal upheaval. When Simon had first become involved with Lauren, it was a source of intense public scrutiny and controversy, as she was married to Simon's close friend Andrew Silverman at the time. Yet, despite their rocky beginnings, Lauren had proven to be a constant pillar of support for Simon throughout their relationship. Her loyalty and commitment to him had endured in the face of adversity, but now, as Simon lay in a hospital bed, the stakes were higher than ever. As Simon went through months of intense rehabilitation, it was Lauren's unwavering presence that helped him persevere. Her support was not just physical, it was emotional, offering Simon the courage and determination to face the immense challenges of his recovery. Lauren's commitment to Simon during this time deepened their bond, proving that love can indeed endure even the most daunting of challenges. She would spend hours by his side, offering encouragement and a steady presence to help him navigate the pain and fear. It was a testament to the strength of their relationship and the incredible depth of their partnership. The physical and mental struggles of recovery. Simon's journey to recovery was not easy. The physical toll of his injuries left him unable to walk without assistance, and he spent months in excruciating pain. The rehabilitation process was grueling, and each day felt like an uphill battle. But perhaps more challenging than the physical pain was the mental and emotional toll the accident had on Simon. He had always been someone who thrived on work, often prioritizing his career over his personal life. His relentless drive had helped him build a billion-dollar empire, but now, as he faced the prospect of being unable to walk again, Simon was forced to confront his past decisions. For years, Simon had been living in what he described as the fast lane, where success, work, and ambition were all-consuming. His dedication to his career had come at the expense of spending time with his loved ones, including Lauren and Eric. His life had been shaped by his relentless work ethic, but the accident forced him to reevaluate his priorities. As he lay in his hospital bed, unable to do even the most basic things for himself, Simon began to reflect on the choices he had made up until that point. It was a sobering realization for Simon. The fame, wealth, and accolades he had accumulated over the years suddenly felt insignificant in comparison to the true value of being present for his family. The near-death experience shook him to his core, reminding him that no amount of success could replace the joy of watching his son grow up or the fulfillment of nurturing his relationship with Lauren. The wake-up call. Reassessing life and priorities. The accident served as a wake-up call for Simon. It was as if life itself had forced him to slow down, to pause, and to take stock of what truly mattered. The realization that he had come so close to losing his ability to walk, and perhaps his life, made Simon confront the reality of the finite nature of time. He could no longer ignore the fact that life could change in an instant. As Simon reflected on his past, he began to see how much he had sacrificed in the name of success. He had spent countless hours working, often to the detriment of his physical and mental health. The long hours, the stress, and the pressure to constantly be at the top had taken a toll on him. Yet, it was only in the face of this near-fatal accident that Simon truly understood the importance of balance in life. Simon's thoughts often turned to Eric, his son, who had been a beacon of light in Simon's life since his birth. The love he had for Eric was immeasurable, and the thought of not being there for him, of not being able to walk with him, to run with him, to be a father in every sense of the word, terrified Simon. He had already lost his own mother, Julie Brett, in 2015, and the thought of losing any more precious time with his own child was something Simon could not bear. The deep love he felt for Eric became the catalyst for change, prompting Simon to make the necessary adjustments to his life. The importance of family, a shift in perspective. Throughout Simon's recovery, one thing became clear. Family was the cornerstone of everything. Simon realized that no matter how successful he had been in his career, it was his family, his partner, Lauren, and their son Eric, that mattered most. The accident had forced Simon to confront the idea that success without love, without connection, was ultimately empty. He no longer wanted to be the man who missed his son's milestones or the father who was never truly present. Simon wanted to be there for Eric as he grew up, to support him in ways he hadn't been able to before. This newfound perspective on life also led Simon to reconsider his relationship with Lauren. Their bond had been tested many times before, but this moment of vulnerability and fear had brought them even closer. Simon was determined to make amends for the time he had lost, to become the partner and father he had always wanted to be. He knew that his recovery wasn't just about healing his body, it was about healing the relationships that were most important to him. Lauren, too, had grown through the experience. The accident had forced her to step up in ways she had never anticipated, and in doing so, she had proven herself as not only Simon's partner, but as his unwavering support system. The strength of their relationship was put to the ultimate test during Simon's recovery, but it emerged stronger than ever. For Simon, the love and support of Lauren and Eric became the foundation for his journey to recovery, and it was through them that he found the strength to continue. The loss of Liam Payne, a devastating blow. Just as Simon was beginning to regain his strength and rebuild his life, tragedy struck again. In October 2024, Simon received the devastating news that Liam Payne, a former member of One Direction and one of Simon's beloved mentees, had tragically passed away at the age of 31. The news came as a shock to Simon, who had helped guide Liam's career from the beginning. Simon had played a pivotal role in the formation of One Direction on The X Factor in 2010, and he had developed a close and meaningful relationship with each of the band members, including Liam. Liam's death was not just the loss of a talented artist, but the loss of someone Simon had come to care for deeply. As Simon processed the news, he was reminded of the fleeting nature of life and the pain of losing someone dear. The grief Simon felt was compounded by the fact that Liam had been so young and had so much more to offer the world. The tragic circumstances of Liam's passing, falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, only deepened Simon's sorrow. For Simon, this loss reopened the wounds of grief that had never fully healed from the death of his mother, and it served as another stark reminder of how fragile life truly is. Honoring Liam's legacy. Simon expressed his immense sorrow over Liam's passing, sharing how deeply he had been impacted by the loss. Liam had not only been a mentee, but also a friend, someone Simon had watched grow from a young, aspiring singer into a global superstar. In his tribute to Liam, Simon spoke about the special bond they had shared and how proud he was of Liam's achievements. He described Liam as someone who used his platform not only to entertain, but to make a difference. And he honored Liam's legacy by reflecting on the impact the young star had on the world. The loss of Liam was a blow that affected not only Simon, but also the remaining members of One Direction, the band that had become a global phenomenon under Simon's guidance. The tragedy sent ripples through the music industry, and the impact was felt by millions of fans around the world who had followed Liam's career from the very beginning. For Simon, Liam's death was a painful reminder that life is short, and the people we love can be taken from us in an instant.